Hey guys, this is Aaron Jimenez, and I want to talk about something today that really interests me quite a bit. And I'm going to tread lightly here because I think that there's a lot of potential landmines that we could land on with this subject. I'm gonna tread carefully. I'm going to wade through the waters here because I do believe that this is just a really interesting topic that I think we do need to spend some time in figuring out, just thinking about from a clinical or a psychological perspective, um, because otherwise we're just doomed to repeat the failures of the past. So my question is this: the question that we're going to just spend a moment talking about is this. Um, how again I'm trying to balance this out. How did the Democrats lose so badly in 2024? And now that's a loaded question, but I'm going to steer it in a different direction here because obviously if you're watching this, you're Republican, you're like, because they're idiots. If you're watching this and you're Democrats, it's because the messaging got all messed up. Elon Musk bought Twitter, so now it's all misinformation and it's a mess. So those are both perspectives, and I want to spend a moment to talk about how do we how do we do like a post mortem, after the death of a dream or after the death of a relationship. I you If you've watched any of my other any of my other stories, you've seen that I'm a clinical therapist. I'm a licensed clinician in the state of Colorado, and I used to have a sign up on my window that said I do divorce counseling. And so, of course, I'd get people calling me going, or do you counsel us in how to get divorced? And the answer is no. But what I do, however, do is I we do a post mortem. We figure out what went wrong, what we can work on in ourselves, how we can change future outcomes. Um, so let's talk about that for a moment because there's something that I believe that fundamentally got kind of screwy the last couple months of the 2024 election cycle, and it's this, honestly, this is truly what I believe. um, and again, this is not a political statement of any sort, but this is what I believe that the Democrats, because we're talking about them specifically and in particular, the Democrats essentially were they worked very hard. I'm going to say this and I'll back off of it. They worked very hard at gaslighting their constituents. And so, for those of you that don't know what gaslighting is, it's something that's typically done in a relationship when one person tries to convince the other person that what they have seen or what they've experienced is not real. And so, if it's a traditional relationship, and if it's a male and a female, I'll stereotype. Let's say the husband or the male is cheating, and the female catches him, and he will do everything he can, emotionally, physically, provide evidence to prove that he isn't cheating, and that's what we call gaslighting, and it's actually a pretty damaging psychological maneuver, because what ends up happening is the person that's being gaslighted starts doubting their own experiences and starts doubting what they know to be true, and so it's very psychologically damaging to where the person who is being gaslighted can no longer distinguish between what is correct and what is incorrect, what is true, what is not true, what they've seen, what they've heard, and what they have not seen and what they've not heard. So it is a truly damaging thing. I saw this, and again, it's the position that the Democrats in power decided to take. And again, I'm going to play devil's advocate because this is not political. But the Democrats truly believe that all of the evidence was pointing to a booming economy. The Democrats believe that that all the evidence pointed to, um, you know, um, just some really great numbers and some great things that President Joe Biden has done for the American people. But then they would go on the streets and they would ask people, "What's your thoughts to everything? Oh, how do you feel?" And they would say, "It's horrible. It's awful. Groceries are so expensive and inflation is insane. It's so high, and I can't, no one in my family can afford to buy a house right now. We're living two, three families to one home." And unfortunately, Democrats would not hear that. The Democrats in power would not hear that, and they would tell the people that they were interviewing that what they were experiencing is not true and not real. And that's gaslighting. That's truly what that is. And again, it's both sides do it to both constituents. This is just a kind of a postmortem on the 2024 election. If the Democrats would have said, "Oh my goodness," right? This is what we do in therapy, by the way, is especially when we have a couple, we don't say, "This is my story, this is your story, and let's battle it out." We say, "What is the other person saying, and what are you hearing?" And so the same is true with politics. If the Democrats would have heard that message, would have said, "I hear what you're saying. Let's do something." So that your experience is better and different and better, they could have easily won. To be honest, I just read something today where this individual said, "I hate Trump. I can't stand him, and I like his policies, and I'm not a fan of what's happened over the last 4 years." So I think there's a lot of people in that camp who can't stand Donald Trump, and yet they're standing on how they felt 4 years, 2016 through 2020. How did they? And again, unfortunately, it's a totally biased feeling because human beings romanticize the past. So I can't compare grocery shopping 8 years ago to grocery shopping a month ago because there's just so many variables. Plus, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe I was in a great relationship and now I'm in a horrible relationship. Or maybe my kids ate more food 8 years ago because they were going through growth spurts, and they're eating less now. All of those things shape our experiences. And so, just like in therapy, it's not about what I think that it has wronged the other party or that's not working. It's what the other person feels, thinks is not working. I can't tell you how many times I've been working with a couple, and one of them will look at me and say, "Let me ask you something," which is always a precursor to a setup, right? And they say, "Let me ask you something. If this happened to you, would you be up in arms about, or would you be thanking me?" And I tell them, "Well, what I feel doesn't matter because you're not in a relationship with me. You're in a relationship with your partner. So what did they feel? How did they think and feel about that moment, that thing that you did or did not do?" So the same is true in politics. And again, I believe that the Republicans and Trump went out and said, they listened to the constituents. They listened to people who said, "I'm not happy with this." They specifically said, "What do you need changed?" And the Republicans, um, um, they are telling the American people, right? Again, I'm not. This isn't a political piece. They're telling the American people that what you don't like, we will fix. Now, whether or not that is true or that happens, we'll find out. But what they're doing, though, is they are saying what is not working for you and how do we change that. If Democrats would have done the same thing, they would have had the unpopular vote, unfortunately, the people who don't like Donald Trump, and then they would have, I genuinely believe they could have taken it if they would have listened to what people are saying and then believed what people are saying instead of continuing to push the agenda. And now as you watch television shows, as you watch news stories, as you watch shows, see if they are figuring it out that people just felt or experienced the 4 years of President Joe Biden as bad or worse than 4 years under President Donald Trump. And see if they're able to hear what the other person is saying, or see if they're going to continue to gaslight them and to try to convince them that what they experienced under Joe Biden is not true. Okay, so that's it, man. I'm super excited. This is something that I really wanted to talk about for a while now. So much so that I'm doing it from my car and not from my studio. So I look forward to hearing from you. Please comment. If you like what information I'm getting out there, then please subscribe, and click notify so that you can be notified when we drop another video. I'm super excited. Thank you guys so much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.